I was caught digging through trash by my ex, now the mayor of New York City. If humiliation had a smell, it would be the rotting stench of old Chinese takeout. And if karma wore a face, it would be his immaculate, furious, and undeniably beautiful. I didn't hear the footsteps at first. The rain drowned everything out, the hum of taxis, the drunk laughter of Friday night, even the quiet crunch of shame in my chest. I was wrist-deep in a pile of garbage outside a shuttered Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, fishing for something that wasn't spoiled. A sandwich, a donut, anything. Then I heard it. That voice. Smooth as bourbon, sharp as a broken promise. River. I froze. Nobody called me that anymore. On the streets I was hey, or yo, or worse. But River? That was my name before the world turned me inside out. Before heat suppressants became luxury. Before I was just another unwanted Omega in a city that never really made room for people like me. I turned slowly, and there he was. Elijah Sinclair. The boy who used to sneak me poetry under the cafeteria table. The boy who held me through my first heat like I was made of glass and stars. The boy who promised forever. Now the mayor. His black trench coat clung to him in the downpour, collar turned up like he was shielding himself from the past. His eyes, those warm whiskey eyes, scanned me with a cocktail of disbelief and pain. But mostly pity. I hated that. Elijah? I croaked, suddenly aware of how I must look muddy, soaked, and surrounded by trash. I dropped the half-eaten bun in my hand like it burned. "What the hell are you doing out here?" he asked, stepping closer. I wanted to run, to vanish into the gutter like a ghost. But my knees didn't move. Neither did the knot in my throat. "Looking for dinner," I said flatly. "Why? Gonna write me a citation, Mayor?" He flinched. Maybe at the sarcasm. Maybe at the fact that I'd used his title like a blade. "I didn't know you were River, you vanished. After the reform law failed, too thought you left the city." I almost laughed. That law. The one that was supposed to give rights back to Omegas. The one we'd campaigned for together, years ago, with fire in our hearts and paint on our signs. It got crushed in the Senate, and I got crushed right along with it. Yeah, well, turns out leaving's expensive. Dying's cheaper. Guess I chose the discount plan. His jaw tightened. "Don't say that." "Why not?" I stepped closer now, soaking wet and shivering but furious enough to forget both. "You get to live in your glass tower and kiss babies and play hero on TV. Meanwhile, I'm scrounging for scraps next to rats and broken dreams. I didn't choose this. You left, Elijah." Silence. "I had no choice," he said finally, voice low, broken. "My father said he'd cut funding to every Omega shelter if I stayed with you. My campaign would have been over before it began. I thought if I could just get into office. And now you're here." I cut in bitter. "With your three-piece suits and your clean hands. So tell me, Mayor Sinclair, how's life on the throne?" He didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his coat and pulled out something unexpected. A thick, worn photo. It was the two of us, on Coney Island, covered in powdered sugar and sunburn. I hadn't seen that photo in 6 years. "I carry this," he said, "everywhere." Something in my chest cracked, and I hated it. "Why?" "Because I never stopped loving you." The words didn't feel real. Not with the trash at my feet. Not with the city spitting on me every day since he left. "Too late," I whispered and turned away, but he grabbed my wrist. "Come with me." "What?" "To City Hall. There's a guest room, food, clothes, a hot shower. Just for tonight." I yanked my hand back. "I'm not your charity case." "You're not," he said gently. "You're the love of my life, River. And I didn't come all this way, climb this high just to forget you." I looked at him. Really looked. His suit was tailored, yes, but he had dark circles under his eyes. Wrinkles of worry at the corners of his mouth. His hands were trembling. "Elijah, people will talk. Let them." I didn't answer right away. My pride clawed at my ribs, but my stomach growled louder. I hated needing him. But God, I needed him. So I went. The guest room was warm. Too warm. Or maybe I'd just forgotten what comfort felt like. I stood under the shower for 30 minutes, scrubbing the dirt off until I was raw. When I stepped out, a set of clothes lay on the bed. Soft, clean, expensive. I put them on like they might vanish. Elijah knocked. "May I?" I nodded. He came in, hands in pockets, and looked at me like I was a miracle. "Eat," he said, nodding to the tray of food on the table. I didn't argue. As I devoured pasta and breadsticks like a man possessed, he sat across from me. "Why didn't you come to me, River?" I glared. "You don't get to ask that. But I need to understand." I wiped my mouth, then met his gaze. "Because I begged you to stay, and you didn't. And after that I couldn't survive one more goodbye." He looked down. "I know I failed you." "No," I said. "You saved yourself." There was silence again, the kind that lingers with old lovers and older wounds. Then he said, "I want to make things right. You can't. Let me try. I don't know how to let you. Then just start with breakfast tomorrow." And for some reason that made me cry. Weeks passed. I stayed. I told myself it was just temporary, just until I got back on my feet. But Elijah, he kept showing up. With warm meals, with patience, with apologies. And slowly, I stopped sleeping with shoes on, stopped flinching every time someone knocked. I remembered how to breathe again. One night, under soft lamplight, he cupped my face and whispered, "I'm still in love with you." "I know," I whispered back. "And you?" I hesitated. Then, "I never stopped." We didn't tell the press. Not at first. It was too fragile, too sacred. But one day, a paparazzi caught us kissing on the mayor's private terrace. It exploded. The tabloids were brutal. Some called it scandalous. Others called it a fairy tale. Elijah held a press conference. He stood tall, heart in his throat, and said, "I'm in love with an Omega, a homeless man, and he is the strongest, most resilient person I've ever known." He looked into the cameras, into the world, and said, "And I am not ashamed." That fall, New York passed the Omega Equity Reform Bill. And when it did, Elijah brought me to the steps of City Hall. In front of a roaring crowd, he dropped to one knee and opened a ring box. "I failed you once," he said. "But if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life making up for it." My voice shook as I said, "You already have." People still stare. Some whisper. But we walk hand in hand through Central Park like we built the damn thing. Because love, when it's real, survives the winters. Even the ones spent digging through trash. Thank you for listening. If you find it interesting, please like and subscribe to follow the next stories.